February 25 meeting of the McCracken Fiscal Court. It's 5 o'clock p.m. And Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bartleman?
Here.
Commissioner Parker?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Judge Clymer?
Here. And let's see, we have our Reverend, what's the Reverend, where you going?
We have Reverend John Herndon, Woodlawn Cumberland Presbyterian Church. He came to our meeting last month to present a petition, so we brought him back this month to pray for us. So if you'll come up here and give us our opening invocation, we appreciate it.
Let us pray.
That's right.
Our Father and our God, before we ask of anything tonight, we want to thank you, Lord, for everything. The things that we take for granted, we thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for this great nation, who Donald is our president, and we thank you for this great commonwealth, Matt is our governor. And we thank you for these commissioners, Father, that you've placed here to govern this branch of the commonwealth. So, Father, we ask you to be with them individually as well as collectively, that you will be glorified through their actions, both of what they have to do now and for those things present. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
And remain standing, please. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have a seat. We have a few things that are going on in McCracken County pertaining to the flood, and so we're going to divert just a bit from the scheduled meeting and get the people that are here to educate us on the flood and the status and what's been done. They've been putting in long hours, so I think maybe we ought to reciprocate and have them present what they are here for this evening. And if they'd like, then of course they can go and get back to work or go home and rest, well-deserved rest. We have Rick Murphy with the city. He's a city engineer, and you're head of public works, isn't that right, Rick? And did you have Steve Chino? Yeah, Mr. Chino's here too. Did y'all want to come? You want to come up and represent together, or however you want to do that?
Visual aids, yeah, those are always great. Visual aids. Judge, members of the fiscal court, you know, in the past we've experienced several floods along the Tennessee River and Ohio rivers, just merely by our location. We do have some similarities that go on in the county and the city. We have a long-standing flood wall that's been in place since 1950. And since its existence, if you don't mind, Steve, why don't you point out where the flood wall is? Sure. The yellow line, it extends about 12.5 miles around a portion of the county and a portion of the city. It protects 15 square miles of both, 8 square miles in the county, 7 square miles in the city. And some of the things that we get a little bit, we have folks that are impacted, and our hearts go out to them, but out in the Oaks Road, Husbands Road, Simpsonia area, Northern Graves County, what we refer to as a Clarks River watershed and or the Island Creek watershed. We all get to hear about the river stages when the river stages come up around 49 and a half feet. These watersheds all join together as one. And if you would, Steve, point out what we refer to as B branch, that's at Husbands Road and Clarkline Road. We have a structure out there that is actually put in place to control flow from coming into the city, because we don't want the river waters coming into the city and causing flooding inside the city, as well as just circulating it from one part of the river to the other. So we have to close the gate out there. When we close the gate out there at 45 feet, well, actually we're supposed to close it at 45 feet. We don't close it until 49, because that's when the rivers join together. That's when the things start in this area where we have some flooding out there of folks that may live in the floodplain. Their flooding is not due to our actions. Their flooding is due to the rivers rising and the dams releasing. The dams are releasing a tremendous amount of water that are directly upstream of us, and that is what we experience. I know there's been some confusion over the past about some pumps, some small pumps that have been pumping from some low-lying areas in the city, for example, some properties, just trying to save some properties. But if you'll look at the array of the property, it's several square miles, as opposed to maybe we pump out an acre or two of water, and we have several square miles here that are flooding rapidly. The crest, I want to talk about that a little bit. We've had a 53-foot river 3 times since the flood wall was built: 1950, 2011, and this present flood. There's not many people that have been around that long to experience all 3 floods. So what happened in 1950 is happening twice in the past 10 years. So those areas out in our community, that's where the waters join together. But the great thing is when the waters join together, both our county governments, county and city governments join together, and we work diligently to help all of our folks in McCracken County. Any questions that we could help you all with?
When is the crest?
Right now, the crest, okay, I talked about the crest. You got 2 agencies that are putting out crests. You know, we have a lot of people that contact folks. You have NOAA, or the National Oceanic Weather Authority. They put out a crest of 53.5 feet, and it was like on the 2nd. It's been moved back to the 5th. We also have the United States Army Corps of Engineers that have a crest that is different, a little bit higher. Our crest, what we operate off of, is the Corps, because we want to be the most conservative on that. Their crest is 53.9 versus 53.4. Now, this water is going to stay around for about 10 days. Now, a lot of people ask, when's it going to go away? We don't know. But right now, it looks like it's going to be around here for about 10 days. We've got another storm cell that comes through. One thing that I'd like to say is, when you are watching the weather, when that big storm that went through Tennessee here a couple of days ago, that's what's affecting us now. The storms that go up the Ohio Valley, those come back to us. So everything that happens around us comes back to us. We're not necessarily watching what's going on in Paducah as far as big storms. We're watching what's going on in Tennessee, northern Alabama, Georgia, Pittsburgh, all of that, and also what's going on in the Mississippi River. So,
What's the Corps and the TVA doing on the dams? I think I saw something they were going to hold some water back. Is that right?
Exactly. They have been letting water go a lot just to get the reservoir down. Now they're going to, right now it's at around 360, which is a foot above Summer Pool. They're going to take it to 366. So now they're going to start holding and let both Barkley and Kentucky hold. But they can go as high as 374. But we have to keep in mind that other storms are going to come, so they need to get those reservoirs through and empty so they can hold more. And right now, the Cincinnati Division is in charge of both dams as far as the reservoirs through reservoir management, because they have both the Nashville District and the Louisville District working together on that.
What do you know what the dams were, what the lakes were in 2011? You know how high they got then?
374.49.
So they could, if they wanted to, they could hold a lot back.
Yeah, they could. Now, 375 is the top of the dam.
Right.
That's all the gates are in and water spilling over. Of course, we've had the lock and dam project that's been going on, putting in a new 1,200-foot lock. They have a big coffer dam that they're working, down at the bottom. One thing they want to do is they want to protect that. So they will let water go so as the water does not spill over into the coffer dam and wreck a lot of their construction that they've worked several years on.
How about the Olmsted Dam? Does that have any effect on what's happening up here since they closed the other two? Or
It does not. Okay. Olmsted Dam, there's 2 types of dams. There's the reservoir for flood control and hydropower, and then there's navigation dams. Olmsted's a navigation dam. It's to hold enough water to let river traffic go in the summertime to maintain a minimum pool.
Okay, good, thank you.
At what point, Clarks River Road, I was out driving around the county today, it looks like they're getting ready, water getting ready to come over the road out there, or are we gonna?
As the water comes, the water's going to come up. It's not crested yet. We're around 53.3 right now, so it's going to come up another 8 inches or so. Notice I put the qualifier in there, or so. It could come higher. It could come a little lower. But an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if it's near you, take the necessary precautions. One thing that I would say is that we are also the city and county workforce are out at the county garage making sandbags. Anybody, those are welcome to anybody that want to come and transport them for McCracken County and or Paducah residents.
Do you know what the river would have to get to for it to come up over Clarks River Road? Have you ever done an estimate on that?
We did at one time.
It got pretty close in 11.
Well, as we're coming in, okay, don't necessarily want to give an advertisement for anybody, but everybody understands where Hardee's is on Clarks River Road. That is actually where the flood wall crosses. As soon as you pass Hardee's, that's where the flood wall comes across Clarks River Road. But as you're driving out towards, I guess, National Maintenance and or out by the signal by the bank out there, you'll notice that it's licking up to the edges of the road right in there right now.
Yeah. And Rick, you touched on it, and Steve, I think the important takeaway really is, and you were in my office and in my deputy Steve Doolittle's office today and off and on, and we met yesterday with a fairly large group at the EMS with Jerome Mansfield, our EMS director, and some city engineers, some county engineers, putting our heads together to figure out what can be done. And really, I guess the bottom line is this is nature, and nature is awesome. We do what we can. We sandbag, we pump, we try to take the precautions. And obviously, I'm new in this, and I'm relying on you folks that have all the experience, and so we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I was really impressed with the knowledge that between the city folk and the county folk, and us working together on that, and trying to pool the resources. And it was it was county public works people that was it Sunday that I believe we were out there, and had I think 30 some odd Class D inmates that the jailer Knight provided for us. Even brought some from Marshall County Jail to get more working bodies in there, and it was quite an operation. I was very impressed with it, and the spirit of working together and trying to help each other was really alive there. And one thing, I don't know if y'all saw, there was a family out there, including, I'd call her about an 8-year-old little girl that was sandbagging, and she was out there for hours, sitting there. And it was a moving picture. The father and the mother, some family friends, and that little girl. She wasn't strong enough to lift the bag, but she, as they poured it in, she would tie it off, and then somebody would get it. And that's what it's all about. So I appreciate everybody's efforts on that.
We appreciate the opportunity to be here and to provide you all information as well. Steve Chino and we have a tremendous tool in GIS that can provide us information quickly. Steve is the director of our IT team over there, of which we're partnered with. He can make this machine talk to us in ways that in the past we couldn't get information that we could. So we've been very helpful for folks out in this area for us to give pre-warning to your EMS people that we can get to those folks soon to get them help and to direct them the best way we know how.
One more question. Yeah. Can you tell the public the status of the convention center? There's obviously events going on there this weekend and all. Where are you on that?
We work closely with the convention center, and it seems that every time we have an event like this, we're always wrestling with, can we have an event or not? When the river gets greater than 51.5 or 52, it starts coming up on that berm that's in the back. The floor of the convention center is 53. And right now we have water that's on some makeshift sandbags that I would say sandbags on steroids. They're called HESCO bastions that are built around that. We do everything possible to protect that building. It is built on the wrong side of the flood wall. We do everything possible to protect it, but as we're doing that, we interrupt its success or failure because of the interruption of the activity. Right now, it is out of service, and the reason for that is the height of the river. In the event these HESCOs may fail, there would be no way to get people out. Right now, the gates are in. There's only one way in of that, and that's up and over Campbell Street. From an emergency operations point of view, we would not want to have that building and parking lot occupied in the case there was a breach, because we would have no way of getting people out. And until the river gets back to about 52 feet, it's the only time that I'll feel comfortable in saying, okay, let's pull the gates, the water is receding, and continue on with business there.
And it won't be back to 52 feet for a couple of weeks, probably. Is that right?
At best, 9 to 10 days.
So it's out of service right now.
It's out of service at this time. And as soon as we can open that gate at 4th, we will. But we want to just make sure that we don't have a rebound. That takes a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of manpower and equipment to put all this stuff in place rapidly. And you don't want to be premature and remove your protections, and then the river rebound on you, come right back. So there will be a lot of gates that will be left in. The businesses will be reopened, but we will still leave a lot of gates in.
If they can get the dome back up, could they have events in the dome?
Well, the dome takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get it fully functional. It's one thing to get it inflated. It's another thing to get the lighting, the electrical, and all that stuff put in after it's inflated. So that would probably be about a 2 to 2.5 week endeavor if we were to start tomorrow. And more than likely, this water is going to drop out by then for that. So we would probably be back in the convention center by the time we got that dome up and running.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate all you do. I mean, I know it's not an easy job, and I know people don't call you up and to get your address to put you on their Christmas card list, but appreciate all the work. Appreciate all the work you've done on that over the years.
Pardon the attire. It wasn't planned. It's just we've been making sandbags and doing everything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll leave, that's an overall map. This map actually has address points on it if you wanted to see what kind of impacts you might have, and I'll leave these for your study.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
I think that our, Randy's not here, Randy Williams. Randy, our road engineer, called me earlier, said that he was going to have to stay out at the road department. His second in command had an emergency to take care of, and you know, Randy's been out there like 6 in the morning till 10 p.m. While this sandbagging operation's been going on, and so he's been putting in long hours as well. I wanted to ask Jerome Mansfield, our McCracken County EMS director, to come and brief us on. It's just an outstanding and astounding feat that his squad performed here the other day. Would you bring us up to speed on that? What happened, Randy? I mean, Jerome.
Yes, sir. Well, on Saturday morning at 11:51, we received a call out that a person was in the river off the Ohio River Bridge, I-24 bridge between Metropolis and Paducah. And if you recall, the weather conditions at that time were heavy rainfall, thunder, lightning, and dense fog on the river. And it was almost a call that it was too unsafe to go out, but our rescue squad decided to respond in our large boat that we've had for about 4 years. Immediately got a call from the Paducah Fire Chief, Chief Steve Kyle, who offered assistance. He said, their vessel that they have, a boat, is smaller, and it was too dangerous to go out, but he would send personnel that were trained with the squad. The squad and the fire department have trained previously in rescue. So 2 personnel responded to the 8th Street ramp, their Burnett Street ramp, which is flooded, but they opened the security gate and launched our craft. Chief Ed Duff, our rescue chief, was incident commander, stayed on the bank, and we had rescuers in our vessel that proceeded toward the I-24 bridge. In the meantime, I was in communication with the Metropolis Emergency Management Director, who had activated the Metropolis Fire and Rescue Department, but their boat was also too small to go into the river from their side, so they stayed at Fort Massac State Park. We're watching the river. Later, they decided to put their boat in. But in the meantime, the Metropolis EM director called me and said, we can hear a person yelling over here near the state park in the river. And that would be about where a person would be at this point in this incident. So I relayed that to Chief Duff. He had already talked to Captain David Shepard, who was piloting the craft, who had also heard those cries of distress. So they headed toward that area and were able to effect a rescue of that person and save their life. And their assessment was that the person wouldn't have lasted but a few more minutes probably due to the exposure, because they'd been in the river maybe 40, 45 minutes. So they worked with Metropolis Fire EMS, and they loaded the patient to an ambulance, and they got treatment at a local hospital. So it was a true joint effort, and our training and exercising paid off. McCracken County DES Rescue Squad was involved, Paducah Fire, Marine Division, Metropolis Fire and Rescue, Metropolis Emergency Management, Massac County Emergency Management was there. Kentucky Emergency Management, Jeremy Blancett, our area manager, responded. The McCracken County Sheriff's Department, Concord Fire Department helped with traffic control on I-24. Of course, our 911 center was involved, as well as the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet on the highway. So we did not let the Ohio River or agency jurisdictions become barriers in seeking out this soul that's been had their life saved and is alive today. It was a true effort, and we have the team here tonight I'd like to recognize.
Yes,
that
so please.
Affected this rescue. Have a chief of the county rescue squad, Ed Duff, if you would like to stand. Assistant Chief Robert Lee, Assistant Chief Mike Ward, Captain David Shepard, Rescue Technician Benny Harper. April Watson is also here. She was not on the scene, but supported it. Jeremy Blancett from the State Emergency Management, who helps coordinate rescues for the state. Brian Hutto, Brandon Hutto, one of our divers. And from Paducah Fire Department, Captain Chris Pallas, firefighter Justin Gray. They were all on the scene. Of course, Chief Kyle is here, and Deputy Chief Matt Tinsley. So these are the men who went out there that day.
What a great story. I mean, it's and the fact that the lady was survived for that period of time. I was under the impression that a person couldn't stay in water at that temperature and in that condition for more than 15 minutes or so.
Yes.
It was in the 40, 45 minute, and you found her, and that's great.
Yes.
How far from the bridge was the rescue made? How far has she go down the river? I heard it was a couple of miles.
Was it-
Is that right?
Okay.
Over a mile.
About a mile.
Over a mile.
About a mile.
300 yards upriver from Massac.
It's probably about a 30-foot drop from where they went in because the water was high. But
And one thing, I don't know if y'all have questions, won't linger on it, but it merits lingering on for a bit, is that, you know, the number one job of government is to protect the citizens. And because only government really can do that and will do that and has the resources, and you know, these folks went out risking their own safety as they were trained and dedicated, and you know, unpaid folks, some paid folks, but regardless, I don't think the money comes an issue. When you go out into that river, and under those conditions, it can go bad quickly.
Yes, sir.
And they go out and they do the job, and it's amazing. John, any questions? Or anything?
Great job, thank you.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. There is, in that meeting that we had yesterday, we were talking from multiple disciplines, people talking about what needed to be done, and then again today, what needed to be done. The mayor signed a declaration yesterday of a state of emergency for the McCracken County, or for the city. I signed one for the county, and the state had not yet signed one. The governor signed one somewhere around, I think, 2 o'clock or so in that area today. And what that does is it gives both the state, and it also gives the chief executive officer, in this case the judge executive of the county, and the mayor of the city, certain powers to control some issues that we talked about, and a couple of those are one, people who seem to persist in driving around road barriers, some for no good reason. Maybe it's because it's there, I don't know, but also ignoring the dangers of this flooding and not taking it seriously. It does several things, but perhaps the most important is it puts themselves at risk of being injured or killed, but it also puts our emergency people at risk. We have to use assets, resources that we would not otherwise have to go rescue some idiot that drives around a barrier in the road, clearly marked, road closed, and they just drive around it. And so we have a sense of duty to rescue those people regardless. And the other issue is the possibility of looting. And so we talked about all those issues. There's also concerns about people being in places they shouldn't be. When you drive your monster truck through the road and you make big waves going out there, those waves, if a property is maybe not damaged by the water, the waves can cause damage, wash up into people's houses and that sort of thing. And so we're going to take that very seriously. I, along with the county attorney, drafted an executive order today that's authorized by the by Kentucky law, in which, well, I'll just read it. Pursuant to KRS 39A 100, Provision 2, the Judge Executive of McCracken County and the Governor of Kentucky having declared a state of emergency in McCracken County, it is hereby ordered that all non-essential and unauthorized persons are hereby prohibited from entering into or remaining on any property, public or private, including public roadways, located within McCracken County that is covered by water as a result of flood water. Any such persons found upon such property may be charged criminally and, if necessary, arrested and jailed. This order excludes property owners and their designees who, due to reasonable necessity, are traveling to or from their property. That order is in effect as of now. and it will continue into effect until the state of emergency is declared to no longer be in effect. And what that will do is give our law enforcement people more authority, more latitude in patrolling these areas. They see people in an area that's flooded, whether they're in a car, a boat, or whatever, to have more latitude and authority to stop them, see what's going on. I've talked with Sheriff Carter a couple of times today. And Sheriff, did you want to speak briefly?
Judge, I may just add that we have got some preparations in place by way of both watercraft and some drones that we're going to be proactively patrolling some of these victims' homes and the areas that have been affected by this flood. Obviously monitoring for anyone that is going to be trying to cast harm upon them. And my message would simply be we're going to be proactively patrolling these areas, and just urge people to follow the laws. Not only the laws that are in place all the time, but based upon this executive order that you have signed and put into place. And we've got to have a zero tolerance there for the safety of these citizens, and to assure them what property they may be able to salvage is not tampered with by someone in the criminal element. In these barricades, as you've already mentioned, that takes away a resource. We already have a potential delayed response time to some citizens in some areas with the roadways being blocked with floodwaters, and we have the potential of delaying in our response even more so if we're having to address someone that's driven out into the water and becomes stranded and having to address that. So we've got to vigorously enforce these barricades that are up in place for the safety of the community and the safety of the citizens, and we're going to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Sure. No? All right. All right, I think that addresses all the flood issues for now. Let's see, on the discussion, we had an item. Oh, I did. Yeah, I got ahead of myself, didn't I? We need to approve the minutes from February 11th.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. And then let's see, we had the approval of the minutes from the joint McCracken County, City of Paducah special call meeting, February 19.
Second.
Any discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Those are approved. And under just the discussion, I put on here a economic development, Greater Paducah Economic Development Council, in case something came up that we needed to discuss. I don't know that there is the one. I appointed Steve Doolittle to represent us in the GPED's search for a CEO. They've met, and I don't know if there's anything that's come from that at this time. Any discussion we need on any of that? Because it was more on there in case there was something that developed. Okay. Then we've got a second reading of ordinance 2019-02. You have that there. You have that. First.
There you go.
An ordinance amending ordinance 2015-02 and 2018-03, setting forth the McCracken County Sheriff's Office's compensation and classification system by creating a new employment classification of part-time civilian process server and setting out the rate of compensation for the same.
Okay. That's the second reading of that ordinance. What, Sam, do we need to do take some other action other than just the second reading on that?
I don't remember preparing and sending over a summary for the second reading. A lot of times what we'll do is use the summary for the very first reading and just call that the summary second reading.
Okay.
If that may not have made its way into the orders there, and if not, I'll just go print it off real quick.
Okay.
Bring it in here, because there needs to be an actual, a second reading where we cite the statute that allows us to do the summary and declare that everything is present there for inspection in your office.
Well, let's see.
This pretty much got everything. It's got the pay rate and all that on it, so that may be what you're looking for. It's-
Always prepare a
Looks pretty
first
detailed.
summary. There we go.
Good thing I can't prepare.
Let's see, here's this, so we can just, yeah. This is exactly what we need to read.
Okay.
We can do it verbally, then you can put it in writing.
It's hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the reading of ordinance number 2019-02 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2019-02, and ordinance amending ordinances 2015-02 and 2018-02, setting forth the McCracken County Sheriff's Office's compensation and classification system by creating a new employment classification of part-time civilian process server and setting out the rate of compensation for the same. The action taken by the present ordinance is expressly authorized by Kentucky Revised Statute Section 70.0303 and 70.050. The present ordinance amends ordinances 2015-2 and 2018-2, which collectively set forth the McCracken County Sheriff's Office's compensation and classification system by creating a new employment classification of part-time unsworn civilian process server. The holder of this position shall assist exclusively in the duties of the Sheriff's Office in relation to service of legal process in order to more effectively and efficiently facilitate access to the McCracken County court system while simultaneously granting sworn road deputies additional abilities to perform the duties of the Sheriff's Office in relation to public safety and law enforcement. Hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2019-02. The ordinance number 2019-02 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office during ordinary business hours.
That covers. Okay. All right. All right, and then we've got a.
Vote on that.
We need a motion on that?
Do we need a motion? Okay.
Second.
Okay, so for a motion to final approval of that.
So made.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes then. And then we've got under discussion the resolution 2019-01. That's the joint resolution concerning the TIF with the city. Of course, we can't discuss these things out of a meeting, so I put them here to see whether we believe that we are all on board to sign, to authorize that. If there's any question, we can do that, and if we need to discuss it, we can discuss in executive session, but I'll ask it this way. Do we need an executive session?
I don't think so.
I don't need one for the TIF.
I'm good.
You're good? All right. So is there a motion to join in the joint resolution with the city
we have
supporting the TIF?
We have two resolutions. Do you have a preference as to which one?
Well, I communicated to the mayor today that I thought that a joint resolution with the city rather than them doing theirs and us doing ours would be stronger.
I like that. I agree. That's the second.
Essentially, that's what we're doing, rather than each government body say we support it. We would, with the joint one, be saying we back each other on that TIF. I just think
Does the
it's preferable in my mind.
the action language change at all? We're just agreeing to enter. Okay.
Well, so then you need a motion, for one of them so we can discuss. I'll make a motion for the joint resolution upholding the partnership between the city of Paducah and the county of McCracken to pursue and support a tax increment financing district in the downtown riverfront development area.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
And the joint says the same thing as the resolution we had on Friday, except it's city and county.
So it-
Is that right?
Well, I mean, the gist of the language is not identical, but I think perhaps the only difference is taking out city
Right.
and just saying county. Might be a few little different, but the meaning of it is,
Looks like
this is joint and this one was just
Sure.
us doing it ourselves.
the action
results
words in
the
the
same.
resolution are the same.
Yeah. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right. Let's see. We've got a budget transfer.
It is ordered to make the following cash transfers in the amount of $137,908.85 in order to pay county bills approved February 25th, 2019.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Passes. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claims register from February 11th, 2019 to February 25th, 2019 to show county bills in the amount of $217,495.42 were paid.
Motion on that.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. That carries. And then we have a number of court orders.
Ready?
You got it?
I think we've already done A.
You've already done A, yes.
Okay.
It's ordered that the county judge executive and commissioners are authorized to sign a letter supporting Hendron Fire Department's application with USDA Rural Development Agency for a loan.
All in favor? Aye.
So moved.
Oh, I'm sorry. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. That carries.
It's hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS 72.450, the McCracken County Ordinance Number 2016-11, the sum of $8,257.13 be transferred from the McCracken County Indigent Burial Cremation Funds account into the McCracken County General Fund. Said sum represents the amount of funds obtained from the decedent's estate by the county and McCracken County District Court, case number 18P42, for use in the recoupment of the county's indigent burial cremation contribution on behalf of the decedent and the payment of the remaining balance due to Miller and Orr Funeral Homes for services in relation to the same.
Any motion?
So
Second.
made.
Second.
Can I ask a question, Sam, on this? As I understand, this is one that initially was indigent burial, and then you realized there was some money in the estate, and you recovered the money in the estate and reimbursed what we paid, and then paid Milner and Orr their normal fee. Is that correct?
Right. And it tracks through statute where the coroner can actually intervene on behalf of the county in a probate matter. And we do it one of two ways, either that way, or I will file a statement of preferred creditor claim on behalf of the county. So preferred creditor is one that provides funeral services, and we will intervene and be able to recoup whatever money is uncollected or undistributed to the
I
estate.
appreciate you doing that, because we all hear stories that sometimes family members don't want to get involved, and
Right.
then you realize there's an estate and you have the right to. Do you have a priority in the estate, to get the funeral funds? Is that
We
a
do.
priority matter in the court action?
That's right. Yeah, we're what's called a preferred creditor, which means our claims will be addressed prior to distribution of other non-preferred creditors and the further distributions to the heirs.
You find that there's very many who go indigent, then you find out there's an estate.
I think I've filed maybe 6 or 8 of those in the last 3 years.
And I guess you do that by monitoring what happens in probate court, is that right?
That's right. And what ends up happening is that I'll be notified through, usually it's either Pam or Judge Leeper. The previous ones that I did just notify me that this individual may very well have assets, and if so, I intervene and we find out what they are.
And again, that's
People
confirmed in
looking
the probate. It's not just a
Right.
guess, you know, in probate. And then when you see that, you file a claim.
That's right.
We appreciate
As
you
long
doing
as I'm notified and know which ones to look into.
Yeah. Appreciate you
It's
doing
pretty
that. And
smooth.
everybody involved, Pam and all, whoever takes that to look at that, that takes a little bit of work, but it's good.
Well,
to
we
do.
redid our ordinance as it relates to pauper burials, and we
Right.
got things streamlined, and so we know who qualifies and who doesn't, so there's not abuse on the front end. But in fact, if we do ascertain there's funds, then we can get them on the back end.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It's ordered that $45,000 be paid to Barkley Regional Airport Authority, same being proceeds from motor vehicle rental tax for quarter ending December 31st, 2018.
Have a motion?
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It's ordered to record the interfund cash transfers for the month of January 2019.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Carries.
It is ordered to record the treasurer's financial statement for the month of January 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It is ordered that Deputy Jailer Tyler Nichols be promoted to classification sergeant effective 2/14/19 at no pay increase.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It is ordered to accept the resignation of full-time Deputy Jailer James Lindsay effective 2/21/19. He has one vacation day to be paid and one sick day to be credited to the Kentucky Retirement Systems.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It is ordered that full-time Deputy Jailer Ben Gill go to part-time status effective 2/20/19 at hourly rate of $14 per hour, less statutory deductions, all of which are subject to further order of the court. He has 6 vacation days to be paid for and 8.5 sick days to be credited to the Kentucky Retirement System.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It's ordered to accept the resignation of full-time Deputy Jailer Eric Smith effective 2/19/19. He has no time accumulated.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries.
It's ordered that the part-time Deputy Jailer Tymus Foster go to full-time status effective 2/24/19 at an hourly rate of $12.25 per hour, less statutory deductions, all of which are subject to further order of the court.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It's ordered that the position of Corporal Deputy Jailer Jace Bryant be changed effective 11/28/18 to floor deputy. This was not brought to the fiscal court by the previous administration. His salary will change from $15.30 per hour to $14.30 per hour, less statutory deductions, all of which are subject to further order of the court, and the salary change is effective 2/1/19.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion?
So he's going down?
Yes. That was the previous jailer changed his status to a lower position, but it never came through the fiscal court.
I see.
Anything else? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It's ordered that effective 2/1/19, Deputy Jailer Mike Harris be promoted to Corporal Deputy Jailer at a rate of $14 per hour, less statutory deductions, all of which are subject to further order of the court.
So
So
made.
moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. Any board appointments? I don't think we have any. No board appointments. Executive session, we do need a brief executive session, and it will be under, where is our? under exemption 5, 61.8101G. We need a motion to go into executive session to discuss a specific proposal by a business entity where a public discussion of the subject matter jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity is permitted by 61.8101G. I think it might fit under also proposed or pending litigation permitted by KRS 61.8101C.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And I can't say for sure, but I think that we would not likely have any action other than adjournment after this session. But certainly everybody's welcome to stay around and enjoy the evening. So we'll move into executive session.